Hello viewers, welcome to your program. It is Economic Insight and I'm your host Paul Kingsley. Now in continuation with the ongoing report we are doing on infrastructure development in Nigeria, today we are in ABS Blueprint Limited, and with us on the program is the Managing Director CEO. I'm talking of Mohammed Yamusa Suleiman. He's just on the program to give us his own take on the various contribution, to the development of our infrastructure and also most of the challenges affecting indigenous players in the construction industry. It promises to be an interesting conversation. I promise you won't regret it. Just sit back, relax. I'll be back after this time out. Thank you.
ABS Blueprint is a construction company. I'm the founder and CEO of ABS Blueprint. And over the past decade, we have made our mark in the industry and built a reputation for excellence in all our projects. And we've also embarked in certain services that are integrated into the construction industry and across other industries. Well, I think I drew inspiration from various areas. If I may take you back a bit, I found out when I was a kid, one of my favorite toys I used to play with was Lego. I loved to build things and take them apart. So I think that formed some sort of foundation in terms of my interest in construction. Growing up, we lived in an estate that was built by one of the top indigenous firms in Kaduna, construction firms. So of course I used to always admire all the construction vehicles I see around that had the brand name and all the nice buildings that was built by this company, and it had a very good and strong reputation. So I had an interest, I think, from an early time that I wanted to do something similar. In my university, I went to study quantity surveying, and I did my industrial training at Bullet International. So while I was at Bullet, I think I got first-hand knowledge and insight about the workings of a construction company. Bullet International was also a strong and big construction firm here in Abuja, and I think I was able to understand the structure and workings of a construction firm, and I was really inspired to form a company of my own someday. And upon graduation, I had a lot of experience. I collected experience working with other professionals in the industry. I learned a lot and had a lot of contacts and experience. So eventually I decided to form my own company that will be able to have my vision and something that I can build with my name on. So that's how I came about establishing ABS Blueprint. Well, the construction industry is a very dynamic one. There are a lot of things you learn because there are a lot of moving parts. It's an industry that, of course, you have also a lot of presence of certain companies that have a high content of expatriates. And you work with the government and the private sector. So yes, we've had a lot of experiences and challenges because it's an industry that is highly competitive. We have a lot of companies out there who are doing construction or who say they want to do construction. So you have to definitely have an edge to you in order to compete in this highly competitive market. So we've had a lot of experiences and challenges, going out there to secure clients and keeping them and building reputation, and the construction industry, just like any other engineering practice, is built on challenges. You go out there to solve problems because you definitely find that things do not go as planned. You have a plan, you have a work schedule, but as you go on, you find out that things will definitely fall out of line, so you have to step in and put things in line. So it's quite interesting and challenging, but we've had a very rich and rewarding experience. Yes, I think to mention a few of recent, we've just completed an 8-story structure that has accommodation and office spaces, and we provide serviced apartments there, and we let out spaces to clients, and it has been a rewarding one because it has a lot of parts to it. We've also just completed a large contract for Oreo Farms. The contract involves the establishment of all the necessary facilities in this farm. We have processing plants and the feeder roads, access roads, and a large storage and water treatment plant, and we've also connected them into the electricity grid and provided the supplementary electricity services also. So, and of course, we've also had a lot of other real estate developments here, and these are just to mention a few. Well, yeah, people will say the terrain is tough because it's a market that has a lot of dynamics to it. Sometimes the market is very buoyant and bullish, while other times, especially like of recent that we're facing a recession, definitely you will find that the purchasing power of your customers is low. So definitely your clientele will be low. Even the government was not executing as much capital projects as before. So yes, you will find that you have certain challenges in terms of that. Yes, I think you see, anytime you find contractors being owed, there must have been a problem, either as a result of lack of performance on the part of the contractor, to be honest, or the government has certain issues, maybe bureaucracy and all. But I believe every project that has started must have been budgeted for, and there must have been the funds appropriately earmarked. So I think it's just to go down into the detail of what is actually the problem. Everybody, both the contractors and the clients, need to do their part in order to ensure speed and efficiency of delivery of project. So these are just some of the challenges, but I think a lot of it has to do with either the financing, maybe the funds are not quickly available, or the bureaucracy if it has to do with government. So these are some of the reasons why you have a lot of debts in terms of the projects that are out there. Yes, well, I think I will say the ground is fairly leveled in terms of, yes, you have the same criteria out there, but I think the difference is that you have certain companies who have very high capacity to deliver and also have very high level of competence. But I think if you look at, for example, in the Procurement Act and the processes involved in awarding all these contracts, I think it's basically a uniform thing. Every company is required to provide certain amounts of documentation. But in terms of the capacity now, yes, you might find that some of the foreign companies have high capacity. But I think it's up to us, the indigenous firms, of course, to step up our game and ensure that whatever it takes, you're able to pool all the resources at your disposal, and also reach out and form the necessary partnerships, be it a consortium or however you want to build on your strength. But I think over time, as long as you're consistent and you build on your clientele and your delivery, you will definitely become as big as any of the companies out there. Every company must have started from somewhere, but I think eventually as you grow, your reputation builds and your capacity builds also. So yes, it is an industry that you can say to a certain extent favors capacity, but I think the ground, as I said, is fairly leveled, and it's up to us now to ensure that we up our game to dream and implement and grow our capacity to be as big as anyone out there. Yeah, I don't think I will say there's lack of project management skills, because the skills are out there. I think it's just a lack of utilization of those skills out there. Because if you look at even from our educational institutions, we graduate some of the best students that have all the required skills, and of course people go further to build on whatever level of education they have. So I think, as I said, the skills are out there, but when it comes to utilizing all these skill sets, that is where you have a problem, because it's up to the clients now to emphasize on very high level of professionalism in managing their projects and doing things the way it's supposed to be done professionally. Yeah. Interesting. You see, that is definitely as a result of failure on the part of either the professional, being the contractor now on this side, or failure on the part of the regulators, because you have laid down procedures and processes for a project. So if, for example, you have a project that has failed, something must have gone wrong. If the contractor has abandoned the project or is not performing, then you have to find out how come he was even awarded the contract in the first place. Does he have the required capacity, and or was he vetted properly? Then if it was a problem that legitimately came about during the project, you have processes and professionals, and you have consultants, I believe, in every project. So it's easy to trace the problem. And if you talk about collapse of buildings, that is definitely a human failure. It's a factor that has to do with people not doing the right thing. Either the professionals are cutting corners, or you have the clients not ensuring that they follow the proper regulations. But you have laid down procedures and processes to prevent such. Construction is a science, so definitely at the early stages, a lot of times you're required to even do a soil test to ensure that the bearing of the soil is strong enough or good enough to carry a certain amount of load. You are required to do all your structural calculations to ensure that your building or your proposed building is structurally sound. Then during implementation, you have all the required regulators to come and check at every point. They have to vet and ensure that you're following the required plan, and everything, all your load and everything you're implementing is by the books. So as I said, along the line you will find that somebody has not done the right thing, or somebody has cut corners and appropriate steps have not been taken to remedy it. So that is the only reason I believe you will find the building collapsing or failing. Of course, it's very, very rare to just see that there was just an error along the way that is excusable, because no matter, as I said, it's a science. So from inception, everything has been properly calculated and taken care of. So I believe if the regulation is tightened in this aspect and very high level of professionalism is emphasized, you have very minimal or no amounts of this kind of collapse, and the failure or the abandonment of projects will definitely not arise, because you will ensure that from inception you have the right expertise and all the necessary steps are taken. Well, as you said, I think I also share that view that is a wonderful thing. I think it's one of the best things that has happened to contract procurement in Nigeria. But implementation, I think the government is trying, but of course there are certain bottlenecks and gaps that need to be plugged, because with every process that has been put in place to prevent any sort of leakages or ensure transparency, you'll find that certain bad eggs might be trying to rig the system or try to outdo the system in certain ways. So I think the government has to ensure very high emphasis on implementation and of course to sanction anybody who does not do the right thing. Then also I think on the part of the contractors, I think one thing we should even ask, have most of our contractors actually gone out to study this Procurement Act? Do they have a copy? Because I know on my part I made sure I got a copy and read it, word for word. So I think a lot of times you find that the contractors just show up and everything they're told they go along with. They don't even know all the details of the Procurement Act. There are certain things that, in fact, the Act gives even the contractor a lot of leverage in terms of questioning the process if he notices anything is not in line. And even if you're rejected, you have a right to ask to see the reason why you were not accepted. So as I said, it's a wonderful document. In terms of implementation, the government just has to ensure that the people there do not rig the system or do not disregard any of the laid down laws. And of course, on the part of the contractors, will ensure that you first of all have to even know what your rights are as a contractor. You have to know what the law says. When you know all this, then you should be able to follow the process, because it lays down everything from inception to completion. So I think if everybody knows all the details, then it's very easy to monitor, because it's supposed to ensure transparency. So I think we should be able to have proper knowledge, then we follow up and ensure that everything is done play by play. Well, our infrastructure, I think, says basically the story of Nigeria itself, that we are not where we are supposed to be. We know that infrastructure is the nerve of every country or economy. You need to have certain basic infrastructure. You need to have modern infrastructure for you to be able to catch up and grow an economy. So yes, Nigeria, we've had a lot of resources, but I think those resources have not been channeled towards building our infrastructure up to the level that it's supposed to be. So I think we're not where we're supposed to. So we should be moving quite fast to catch up, because infrastructure needs a huge amount of resources, and also it needs a reasonable amount of time to build. You can see, for example, government has been trying to build the railways, but you will see that it takes years to implement, because these are very technical processes that needs to be followed with due diligence. So at the end of the day, we need to speed up on the kind of priorities we give to infrastructure. We need to prioritize and put a lot of funds, and try to build all the necessary infrastructure in order for our economy to grow to the level that it's supposed to be. Well, the advice is for them to just ensure that they really dedicate a huge amount of resources to capital projects. All the capital projects out there should not be, in fact, I think in the past you used to have some instances where the recurrent expenditures even outweigh the capital expenses, which is a big anomaly. You are supposed to have a lot of priority on your capital projects. You're supposed to spend a lot of money to build your infrastructure, and the good thing is a one-off thing. Once you do it, you've done it. Of course, there's money to maintain these things, but at least first things first, you need to ensure that you dedicate a huge amount of resources to this. So I think in the country, we should be able to have a very high percentage of all our budgets focused on infrastructure. As soon as we do that, then we can be able to spread around and ensure that we do other more modern things to grow the economy. But infrastructure is the foundation of any economy. Once you have the required infrastructure, then your foundation is solid and the economy will boom and a lot of things will follow. You have a trickle down effect, so to say. Well, I think we all have to just get up and be hard working. Don't have a mindset of entitlement. I think as a youth, you have energy, you have the vibrancy, you need to utilize that into ensuring that you go out there and work hard and earn what is yours. So I think as youth, you see that your mind is even quite, broad in terms of imagination. So you should be able to dream big and go out there to implement and work hard, and integrity is key. I think a lot of things that affects us as youth is that if you're given an opportunity, in some instances you find that people fail to live up to the level of integrity that is required. And in every business, and especially in this kind of business, integrity is everything. Once you're caught not living up to expectation or found wanting in terms of integrity, it definitely affects you and it's a stigma on you. So you should ensure that you have very high level of integrity, high level of professionalism in everything that you do. And I think once you do that, the youth, the good thing is you have the time on your side. So at least you have the chance to make, yes, you can make some few honest mistakes, but you quickly pick up and learn and move forward. Well, I think our uniqueness at ABS is basically the fact that we take a lot of pride in excellence in delivery of all our projects. ABS has been trying to grow into a brand now, so anywhere you see our name, you will be ensured that you will have high level of excellence in delivery of the projects. So at least we know that we also focus a lot on innovation. Innovation is key in ABS Blueprint, because in any project that ABS is embarking on or embarks on, we ensure that we introduce something new or different. So innovation is key, and you will find that these things are things that makes us to stand out and makes our projects unique anywhere you see us. Well, I'm Mohammed Yamusa Suleiman. I'm a quantity surveyor, an executive strategist, founder and CEO of ABS Blueprint Limited. I'm a family man. I'm married with a lovely daughter. I think in a nutshell, that is just the summary of my life. My work and my family is my life. That is who I am.
Well, this is where time will permit us. Mostly a very big thank you, sir, for making our time to be with us. Out of your busy schedule, we really appreciate your time, your contribution on the program. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.